So, okay, I said I was gonna make a video. It's like midnight, a couple of minutes after midnight on technically Wednesday, June 3rd. It's Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, technically. I said I was gonna make a video about some of these recent news stories. And I don't know if YouTube, it might ding me or give me a copyright strike on the news stories that I did. And I'm gonna try to upload it, but sometimes it'll give me a copyright strike on some of the stories that I repost because I like to put the news stories up here to back up everything that I'm talking about. So, um, yeah. So anyway, see, let me get on the first story. So it's talking about this meteor explosion. The first story is a meteor explosion that happened last week. Let's see. My thing keep going off. This happened last week in New England. It rocked the United States. I don't know if it said it shook any other part of the world, but I know it most certainly shook New England, the Boston area. I forget that. But anyway, meteor. When does this exactly happen? Meteor explosion. Could meteor fragments be found after Cape Cod explosion? Meteor boom over. So it happened in Massachusetts. And said is seen in Delaware because it probably just came across the whole sky from just says sightings from Delaware to Montreal in Canada. It says reports of an explosion from people across New England on Saturday. That happened Saturday. This is what, Tuesday, or technically Wednesday. So this happened this past weekend, Saturday afternoon. And it said that it was a double boom, a sonic boom that shook buildings in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. The American Meteor Society said that the booms people heard were actually caused by a meteor about 3 feet, nearly 1 meter wide, entering the atmosphere around New Hampshire border with Massachusetts north of Boston. But they're saying that it was reports from Delaware to Montreal with people either hearing it or feeling it. So yeah, that was a meteor explosion. This is about the second one that's happened. I think it was in Texas. I mean, it was seen across the South. The last one that we had that happened earlier this year. But yeah, it was a fireball. It says from Delaware to Montreal, with people either hearing the double boom, feeling the ground shake, or seeing the fireball, which he said looked like a shooting star in the daytime sky. It was definitely bigger than a normal fireball, about a yard wide. That was somebody reported as hearing. We need more information about the trajectory, the speed, and other aspects to know for sure if it hit the ground. But if it didn't burn up, then it would have landed in the ocean. Most of them do burn up before they hit the ground. So yeah, it was a huge meteor. It's a huge meteor. Another story talks about Elon Musk claiming, says Elon Musk and this is what I talked about recently about man trying to be like God, having the knowledge of God, and Elon Musk made a statement. Let me see. Let me find that story. Elon Musk sparked controversy by referring to future Neuralink medical breakthroughs as Jesus-level technologies. Speaking at a global mobility summit, he stated that restoring mobility to tetraplegics and curing blindness through chip-to-cortex interfaces like the upcoming blind spot implant are scientific miracles akin to the feats of Jesus Christ. So it's saying that his Neuralink, listen up now, it says his Neuralink, that is a chip in the brain that they put in people's brain that he claims will be able to cure blindness and cause movement in tetraplegics. So people who have been paralyzed or whatever or can't move. He's saying that these Neuralink chips that he places in people's brains will be something that can give vision or give sight to blind people, cure blindness, and cause people, with paralysis to move. And he calls this Jesus level technology. It says many critics and members of the Christian community strongly pushed back against the comparisons. Commentators found that analogy disrespectful, arguing that technology cannot replace true divine miracles, and cautioning against putting faith in artificial enhancements. Tech observers pointed out that while Neuralink is making real progress in basic brain-computer interfaces, promising to restore full eyesight or cure paralysis involves overcoming massive scientific and regulatory hurdles that are far from proven. So he's claiming that, Musk clarified that he meant miracles in the scientific sense, emphasizing that bringing technological solutions to those with severe physical impairments is a historic, life-changing milestone. He's lying. See, what it is that they're trying to create technology, and he meant what he said, that will mimic or be comparable to Jesus-like, which means God-like levels, which I don't care what they do or how far advanced they think they will progress in technology. Humans will never have the knowledge and the miracle-making ability of Jesus Christ or the Lord. So that's what it means, like back in the day when they were trying to build that Temple to Babel. And it goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, when Satan tempted man and saying that, even Satan himself, when he was in heaven, he wanted to have God's knowledge. He envies Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God. Satan wants to be like God and have his level of knowledge, his level of omnipresence, his just to be, superior to God. And that's what caused him to get kicked out of heaven along with a third of the demons. So then he comes down to heaven and he tempts Adam and Eve in the garden, saying that if they eat the fruit off the tree of knowledge, they will have eyes open, wide open, and have the knowledge of God. So and then the Temple of Babel, men trying to build a tower to reach heaven, to be like God, to be where God is. Of course, they always fail miserably because man can never reach the level of God, not even nowhere near the level of God or Jesus. So this is, the same thing that Elon Musk is trying to accomplish, thinking that he can put a chip in somebody's brain, which is the mark of the beast like behavior, that he claims will have Jesus level technologies to restore or to give sight to the blind and movement to the paralyzed. So scripture is fulfilling. It said knowledge will increase in the end times, the last days, and this is just furthermore fulfilling Bible scripture. Man is trying to have the knowledge or gain the knowledge of God, which will never happen. So we'll see where he goes with this Neuralink stuff, but what's the next story? Let's see what the next story is. Invasive fish. They were talking about invasive fish. There were some fishermen that found a snake fish. Let me see where this fish was. Snake fish. Invasive species. They just recently did a story about this, and I thought it was very intriguing. Northern snakeheads, and it was 6 days ago. New York DEC expands investigation after invasive northern snakehead fish found in Suffolk County pond for the first time. So this was in some parts of New York that these fish turned up. The fish has the potential to reduce or even eliminate native fish populations and alter aquatic communities, according to the state. So these are... It's taking too long, the story on that site. But yeah, these are snakehead fish. So these fish that can walk on land, so they can survive out of water for a few days, and they can actually walk across the street. Invasive fish that can walk on land found in New York. It's not something we're going to take lightly. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation confirmed that this invasive fish can breathe air and survive for days out of water. And it is an actual fish that has snake skin. It's shaped like a fish, looks like a fish, but it has the skin of a snake. It says the invasive northern snakehead fish that has been found in multiple locations across New York. The fish can survive on land, now threatens a local ecosystem by eating native species. So it is a predatory fish that eats other fish. I wonder if it's poisonous. 3 fish were located in Lily Pond at Lake Ronkonkoma in Suffolk County, New York. The fish can breathe air, survive for days out of water, and spread to nearby water bodies on their own. So if they duplicate or procreate, they can eat other fish. It was said the fish were found also in Flushing Meadows Park in Queens and in Central Park. The fish can walk on land and can cross the road, she told the outlet. This is the statement from Heidi Riordan, regional fisheries manager of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, said these fish could actually walk on land and can cross the road. So when have you ever known fish that can live out of water for days and can actually walk across the street? See how the animal kingdom is mutating? It says, added the noting that they have no predator and predators. It will upset the balance of, native fish life. We really want to be on top of it and get rid of them quickly because we have Lake Ronkonkoma's bass wildlife. So having the snakehead move in there would not be a good situation. I do see the point of the fishermen having a very exciting catch, but it's not something we're going to take lightly. So they're not taking this lightly that these type of fish have been discovered in some types of New York. It says the invasive fish species is a native of Yangtze River basin in China. The Chinese River, the Yangtze River basin in China. These species have python-like coloring and can weigh up to 20 pounds and reach 3 feet in length. They can be 3 feet in length. They're typically found in shallow ponds, swamps, canals, reservoirs, lakes, and rivers. So they've been spotted in Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Florida, Arkansas, and Missouri. The species is federally listed as injurious wildlife. And the New York State Part 575 invasive species regulation prohibits the possession, sale, and transport of snakehead fish in the state. To help prevent the spread, the DEC reminds water recreationists to clean muds, plants, and animals off boats or boats of fishing gears. Only use certified bait and not to dump aquarium contents or unusual bait in water or sewers. They also urge boaters to clean, drain, and dry their boats, trailers, and fishing gear before entering New York water. So this is serious. They're saying that these fish just washing up here in the United States, Chinese fish that's normally found in the Yangtze River, and that sounds too close to my name, but is washing up in several ponds and lakes here in the United States, and they're wondering where these snakehead fish, predatory invasive fish species coming from. I bet you somebody brought that fish from China and probably threw them in the lake or something. No telling where they came from. Just like they bring in over the different viruses and diseases and stuff. Brought it over from China. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was weird. So what else? What else are they talking about? This invasive fish Pezeshkian, the Iranian president, the president of Iran. They said handed in his resignation and tried to quit. Iranian president. He tried to resign. I think what it is that he's scared. He's scared that he's going to get killed, I think. And that, there's a news story that said that the Israeli and United States military are going to merge. They're going to join forces in their fight against Iran. So this guy, this President Mossad Pezeshkian, he reportedly offered his resignation to the office of the supreme leader, who is now the son of the former current the Ayatollah that was killed a couple of months ago. His son has taken over. Mojtaba Khamenei is the murdered or the assassinated Ayatollah's son. So it says that this Iranian president has offered his resignation. It turned in his resignation to the new Ayatollah supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, on May 31st, 2026. He cited an extreme loss of governing authority, claiming that hardline factions within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps have effectively taken control and sidelined his civilian government. And he's saying that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is undermining his authority. So he's just wanting to quit. But I think he's really wanting to quit because when the United States and the Israeli military merged, their forces merge to fight against Iran, I think he knows that he will be eliminated. He's on borrowed time if this happens. So he's trying to resign. He's trying to quit. However, Iranian state media and senior officials have publicly denied his resignation. But I can see that happening because the man probably wants to just quit before Iran is destroyed or defeated. So he wants to get out and quit. What else is going on? Let me see what else is happening. What it says about the U.S. courts. Oh, I don't want this to play. I don't want that news story to play. What is this? U.S. courts. Oh no, Congress. Congress is just voting on whether they want to go ahead and merge the military forces with Israel in this Iranian war, because they wanted this war to just be over with, get it over with, to get the Strait of Hormuz open as soon as possible, because from what my understanding is, around the 4th of July, the United States is going to run short of oil and fuel. So that's going to happen. As long as this war in the Strait of Hormuz is taking place, everybody, the world is going to suffer on a global level, and a lot of these countries are going to be completely devastated. They're going to be in dire straits as long as this closure of the Strait of Hormuz is happening. That's not going to get any better for anybody. So I think they thought that Iran was going to be easily defeated when they took out the Ayatollah, but that's not the case. I'm quite sure the Ayatollah had made provisions for years because he had been in power for many, many years, decades, and I'm quite sure he made preparations or provisions and prepared for his line of succession in the event that he is martyred. So that's why his son has taken over. But I think the Iranian president is trying to quit because he knows that his days are probably numbered and he will soon be eliminated too. So anyway, Congress is going to vote on merging the military with Israeli forces to fight against Iran because they're trying to get that strait open ASAP. Because a lot of countries some countries are already out of gas. I think I know Cuba is out of gas because of what happened in Venezuela, but still there are other countries that are running completely out of fuel, especially diesel fuel that keeps the supply chains moving, that stocks all of the grocery stores and just supplies all over the world. Without that diesel fuel, then trucks can't move. And this is going to be devastating. Even Spirit Airlines, here in the United States has folded. So that's why they're trying to do whatever they can now to merge the militaries with Israel to try to defeat Iran to get that strait open so they can put an end to this war and get that strait back open as soon as possible. So we'll see how that goes. But the next story that I was looking at This trifling ass grandmother. There's a grandmother who was found guilty. I think she's been convicted and she's waiting sentencing, but she's a grandmother. And I think she was in Louisiana. She forced her little 4-year-old grandbaby to drink whiskey for whatever reason. I think they do that to try to make the kids fall asleep or something. But it was a Louisiana jury found a Baton Rouge grandmother guilty of manslaughter after she forced her 4-year-old granddaughter to consume a half pint of whiskey as punishment for sipping from the bottle. See, a 4-year-old, she don't know any better. She saw it somewhere, probably saw grandma's hooch or moonshine sitting on the table somewhere, and she probably thought it was some juice and drank it. So this grandmother, mad because the granddaughter is drinking her whiskey, gonna make her drink all of it, and that made the baby die from acute alcohol poisoning with an extreme blood content of 0.68, and the baby died. I got the trifling ugly grandmama's mug shot. Said on April, it's happened in April 2022, Roxanne Record, she was 53 at the time, caught the 4-year-old granddaughter, China, taking a sip from a bottle of Canadian Mist whiskey left on the counter. As a form of discipline, the grandmother made the toddler kneel on the floor in a hallway and forced her to chug the rest of the liquor in the bottle, made her drink all the whiskey up. Drink it straight. Drink the whiskey straight. A 4-year-old drinking whiskey straight. The child's mother, Khadijah Record, was present. The daughter was there and watched the incident but failed to intervene to stop the fatal punishment. So she saw her mother give her daughter this whiskey as punishment for drinking out of it. Firefighters and EMS responded to an unresponsive child at the Wallace Street home, but the toddler was pronounced dead at the scene, so that killed that baby. Her blood alcohol content was 0.68, more than 8 times the legal driving limit for an adult. And these almost made me cuss. These witches killed this baby by forcing her to drink whiskey. So after a 3-day trial in Baton Rouge, the jury deliberated for roughly 7 hours. It would have took me 7 hours. And roughly 7 hours, and found Roxanne Record guilty of manslaughter. Roxanne Record, or Record, whatever her name is. And she's scheduled to be sentenced later this summer. The child's mother was also arrested and is facing separate charges for her involvement. How can you sit up there and let your mother kill your baby, your 4-year-old daughter, just for drinking some cheap Canadian Mist whiskey? So both of them, it's just messed up. Rest in peace, baby China. Yeah, I hope they're gonna, God is gonna deal with them if the system don't. But I have an idea that the system is gonna lay both of them down. They're gonna slam them pretty good. Because you got to be mentally ill or some type of satanic, demonic person to sit back and force a child to drink some whiskey and kill her. Yeah, the mother and the grandmother, man, it's end time wickedness. That's all I can say. Mm. Getting the hiccups. End time evil. Said wickedness will increase in the end times. And that's what's happening. Speaking of drinking and giving alcohol to minors, there's a woman, a Los Gatos woman, who has been sentenced. I think they gave her 35 years in prison for holding parties for minors, holding teen drinking and sex orgy parties. It says a Los Gatos woman refers to Shannon O'Connor in May 2026. That's just last month. The 50-year-old was sentenced to 35 years and 10 months in state prison for a string of horrific child endangerment and sexual abuse convictions. So it says that, and I'm wondering why they slammed her so hard. But didn't nobody die. It says, often sensationalized by the media as the Los Gatos party mom, prosecutors and victims strongly rejected this moniker, instead labeling her a pedophile and a predator. Between 2020 and 2021, she engaged in the following crimes: grooming and assault. She secretly hosted alcohol-fueled parties in her home for local high school students as young as 12 to 15 years old. She supplied minors with excessive amounts of alcohol and condoms, orchestrated sexual encounters, and in some instances watched and laughed while intoxicated minors sexually assaulted others in her home. She manipulated and threatened teens to keep them quiet. She manipulated and threatened the teens to keep them quiet and protect her illicit gatherings. Following an extensive trial, a jury found O'Connor guilty of multiple charges, including child endangerment and facilitating forcible sexual assault. This woman is sick in the head. That's all that is. Or she just never grew up or something. They said she did it from 2020 to 2021. So she did this for about a year, 2 years. So between 20 and 2021, so a year, she hosted these parties for these kids and preteen kids, 12 to 15 years old. Gave them liquor and forced them to participate in look like sex orgies and stuff. So it says in late May 2026, Santa Clara County Judge Elizabeth Peterson handed down the maximum possible sentence for her crimes. Give her 35 years. And she had been fighting this case for 6 years before she got her sentence. They probably came and offered her a much lower sentence, but since she decided to take it to trial, they slammed her with 35 years and 10 months. Shannon O'Connor. And this is a 52. This woman was my age. She is my age. And she was hosting parties. So she had to be like in her mid to late 40s when she was hosting these parties 6 years ago for 12 to 15-year-olds. Who does that? She had to be some type of predator or some type of mentally ill, arrested development, youth, juvenile-minded woman to even think that this was okay. But she is evil because it said that she manipulated and threatened these kids to keep quiet about what she was doing. So they slammed her with 35 years. So she'll die in prison if she's 52, more than likely. That was in California. So what else? Rescuers had to rescue 7 cave explorers in Laos. They got trapped in a cave because there was some type of monsoon that happened, and it trapped them in the cave because they were in the cave looking for some gold. They went down in this cave searching for gold, and I guess it started raining while they were down in the cave, and it trapped them in the cave. And it was 7 of them. I don't know. Let me check to see if they found the other ones. They got 5 out, but I think they said it was 2 still missing. And this was in Laos. Cave rescue. Let's see what happened to the last 2 recently. Rescuers raced to save the last 2 men trapped in Laos. So far they still have not found these other 2 men as of yesterday. It says Laos cave rescue workers report knocking sound and search for last 2 missing people. Down there looking for gold. Rescue workers searched flooding caves in Laos, reporting hearing a knocking sound from inside the system as they sought to extricate 2 people who have been missing for nearly 2 weeks. Now the other ones, they was trapped down in the cave for a few days, but these people, these last 2, they've been down there, they said, for 2 weeks, for nearly 2 weeks. A group of 7 villagers entered the caves in Zaisamband province. Zaisamband province in Laos on May 19th to search for gold. but were trapped there by flash flooding following heavy rain. 5 villagers were rescued last week, one of whom was taught to scuba dive in order to make his way to the mouth of the cave. The rescue team was able to pump enough water out of the system for 4 more people to crawl out on their own. Rescuers are now explaining a 6th chamber where the remaining 2 men might be located, with one of the coordinators reporting in posts to Facebook that workers hear a knocking sound. They heard a knocking sound, seemingly responding back to their own knocks. So they're thinking that these guys are still alive. But they can't get any food or anything to them, see? They trapped in there, and there's probably still water and stuff in there. And the only way that they got those other 5 people out there, because the water had receded a little bit, and they were able to, get some of the water out in order to get them out of there. But these 2, I don't know, maybe they got separated from the crew or what, but they still haven't been able to get them out. So they're saying, yesterday we knocked, there was a signal responding back. It was a knocking sound meant to be heard. Based on our initial assessment, this is considered not to be a reflection or an echo of a sound. It says, whoever this guy name is, Kinkaj Bangkwang, whatever his name is, the head of the Thai group Meta Tham Rescue Coalition. That's the rescue crew that is trying to get them out of there, which is taking part in the operation. That's what they wrote on Facebook, that they heard a knocking sound. So moving forward, it won't be just a matter of sitting around waiting for water to be pumped out. So they're trying to, actively go in there and try to get them out of there. See, this is what I mean when I say they have to risk rescuers' lives, going and getting these people, making these foolish, searching for fool's gold. This is what I call it. But they always got to send rescue teams and put other lives at risk. Whenever these people do these stupid things like this, going exploring in a cave, looking for gold, and gets trapped down in there. So now they got to send, risk other people's lives going to get them out. And so far, they ain't been able to get the last 2 people out. So they're saying workers are using LIDAR data and satellite imagery to scan the area and assist in rescue efforts. So they're trying to use cameras to go in there and kind of look and see exactly where they are. It says, we obtained a lot of useful data to verify the rock layers and analyze the mountain structure to locate cave chimneys, vertical shafts, or air holes that might have a chance of connecting directly to the chamber where they are trapped. So they are basically trapped inside this cave. And anything collapse or fall or whatever, they can die just for trying to go in there and find some stupid gold. It says the villagers who were rescued last week were immediately treated at the entrance of the cave. One man who was rescued was taken to the hospital. Divers from around the world flew out to the site to help with the rescue effort. See, these is people, well, no, they probably felt sorry for these fools, but they feel sorry for them, and I guess they travel saying, they're going to try to help get them out, but this is just plumb dumb stupid. Officials said the caves were so tight that they needed thin divers to successfully navigate the space. Australian cave diver Josh Richards, who was helpful with the rescue operation, told ABC News of the successful recovery of the first villagers. I was literally about to head into the cave myself when all of a sudden we heard all these cheers and spun around, and 4 very muddy miners just suddenly emerged out of the cave on their own. The cave is highly restrictive, fractured network of tunnels, and the men were located more than 800 feet from the entrance down a steep 45-degree subterranean slope. So they were deep off in this cave trying to find gold. Probably wouldn't even know gold down in there. Risking your life trying to find some stupid gold. But, yeah. Anyway. Speaking of other stupid things, it's these students being somewhere where you ain't got no business being. This is why I tell y'all I don't ride on no Ferris wheels or roller coasters or anything, but there was some students, a group of 8 students, who got stuck on a roller coaster in Galveston, Texas. They were stuck on that roller coaster for, they said, 4 hours. They were on some type of field trip, and they were stuck on the roller coaster called the Iron Shark. Let's see what it says. It says 8 high school students were safely rescued on May 28, 2026, after being trapped mid-air for nearly 4 hours on a malfunctioning roller coaster in Galveston, Texas. The students, who were visiting the Galveston Island Historic Pleasure Pier as part of a Houston ISD STEM school field trip, became stranded 100 feet in the air when the Iron Shark roller coaster just stopped in mid-air. And they were stranded up there in the hot beaming sun on a roller coaster, 8 of them, for 4 hours. And I saw the firefighting team that rescued them. They had the live feed of them making the rescue, and it took them 4 hours to get them out from down that roller coaster. And this park was called the Pleasure Pier, Galveston Island Historic Pleasure Pier in Galveston, Texas. The ride was called the Iron Shark, a steel roller coaster featuring a 100-foot vertical lift, and they got stuck at the very top of the lift. The coaster experienced a mechanical malfunction during its initial vertical climb. This left the students hanging backwards at a 90-degree angle near the peak. Park officials stated that the ride stopped automatically, as it was designed to do when a malfunction occurs, to prevent an accident. So the ride was fixed or programmed to stop in order to prevent probably from dropping them out of the ride. So, and I bet you they'll go right back on it again. It's just so stupid. It's so weird. That's why I don't play with my life like that. That's called risk. That's daredevil activities, risking your life, going on these high rides and stuff, and engaging in these dangerous activities, playing with your life like that. That's why they call it daredevil, because the devil dares you to play with your life like that, and a lot of people do it. Just for the thrill of it, just for an adrenaline rush, they do it. So, and you don't supposed to tempt God like that. You don't tempt fate like that, playing with your life like that, because that could have killed all 8 of them, including the firefighters who had to go up there and rescue them. So people got to learn to stop playing with their lives like that. Testing fate, pretty much, putting God to the test. And his grace and mercy is only the thing that kept them from dying, doing stupid stuff like that. So they'll probably have some books and documentaries and stuff made about being stupid, going to the carnival and almost getting killed on the ride. Anyway, speaking of schools, a Fort Worth Independent School District principal was removed over social media posts. They fired her from her job. They removed her over some social media posts that she made on her private personal Facebook page. I thought that was just so unfair. They fired her because she made some religious posts. First of all, people just, if you work in a job like this, I strongly recommend that you make your Facebook page private. Don't even make it public. But she's a Muslim lady, and she was fired. Let's see. She was fired. Let me get a brief summary of the story. Shemaya Al-Zubi, the newly appointed principal of Western Hills High School, was reassigned and removed from her post by the Fort Worth Independent School District. The district removed her pending an internal investigation into her past social media posts. The decision came after prominent conservative groups and online accounts, including Libs of TikTok, shared screenshots of her old profiles and pressured the school district. So these were liberals. They were just going around looking people up on TikTok and on social media, looking at her accounts or whatever, after she got, assigned to be the principal. And they turned her in based off some old posts that she placed on there. It said, according to the Fort Worth Independent School District, the post violated staff policies regarding political neutrality. The flagged social media content reportedly included a post from January defending Sharia law by comparing it to biblical principles. So it was a post from January defending Sharia law by comparing it to biblical principles. An August 2021 repost advocating for school mask mandates and images featuring a Black Lives Matter banner, an image with the caption stating Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine. The district noted that Texas state guidelines require educators and leaders to remain objective and free from political bias in the classroom, but that wasn't a classroom post. That's the thing. She might get a lawyer and be able to fight this because that was not a public post on, and this was her personal social media website. So I don't think that was right that this woman was removed, even, though she was a Muslim, and she has a right to have a personal political and religious point of view. I mean, her views are her own personal views. I don't care that's her professional life. And if she wants to state, political things on her personal social media, then she should be able to do so. But I just think that she probably should have made it private because she has such a high profile public position. She probably should have made her social media pages private and only just limited to having friends who are her, friends and family and people that she know in her private life. So I just thought that was wrong. I don't think she should have been removed from her job based off of her personal views. Although I understand why they did it, because you got some people who are in positions of power, like a principal or a judge or a police officer, who may hold some very extreme political views that will reflect on how they treat people in their professional lives. So I do kind of see why they did that. That's why they, promote having political neutrality. So I do kind of see why they did that, and they do have a right to do that because her job, said, it prohibited having political positions, but she should have just made her social media pages private and only limited to having access to only her friends and family and people she knew personally in her personal life. That's what I think she should have done. So, but they did say that she was removed. They didn't say that she was terminated. They just said she was reassigned. But my whole thing is, if she felt that way, I don't know why she just didn't go and be a principal of a Muslim school. Because they said they have a all Muslim city in Plano, or I think, or in some parts of Texas, Plano or Irving, but they have a Muslim city. So I don't know why she just didn't go and be a principal there. Maybe it wasn't enough jobs or something. I don't know, but that's crazy. You're not allowed to have a personal life. That's, I don't know. But anyway, moving on. Let's see what else. DJ Flag confirms the release of the Diddy sex tape. Okay, so I guess DJ Vlad makes a video to confirm that the recent sex tapes that have been leaked of Diddy and two other people were authentic, because he did see them and he did interview the person who actually had ownership and possession of the video. And so Vlad felt the need to make a video letting the world know that those tapes are the real deal. They are not AI, they are authentic. But what those tapes do reveal, in my opinion, it reveals that Sean Diddy Combs, despite the fact that he behaved in some very perverted, kinky, nasty, sexually reckless, deviant behavior, he there were no victims involved in that. So, I'm not going to say, the prostitution. Yes, he did engage in prostitution because everybody involved in that situation were prostitutes, because everybody was paid to be there and to indulge in the sexual behavior and the drug taking and things like that. So Diddy was not the only one engaging in illegal, immoral behavior of prostitution and illicit drug use. However, he was the only one that was arrested, tried, and convicted and sentenced. complete railroad job. There were no victims involved in this. A lot of those people willingly, voluntarily took the drugs and participated in the orgies. And then now want to try to, they want to turn around and play victim because Cassie got her pound of flesh, got her millions of dollars. And I still say that Cassie had every opportunity to leave her relationship with Diddy, like she did eventually. And I think that video shows that. And I don't condone domestic violence and him fighting and beating her or whatever, but it looked like to me on that video that Cassie tried to run out with something that belonged to Diddy. That's why when he ran after her, he pushed her down and grabbed her purse because she tried to escape and run out with either his phone or some money or some drugs or all of the above. She tried to run out of that hotel with something that belonged to him. That's why he grabbed that purse. That's what I believe. It looked like that. If you look at it, that's what she tried to do. She tried to run out of there with something. But that still does not give him the right to abuse her and, beat her like that. So I'm not saying Diddy was a choir boy. We all know that he wasn't. But those people that were involved, they were not innocent either. And a lot of those people are just lying, trying to get a payday, trying to force a settlement, hoping that Diddy just go ahead and settle with them. So, to make them go away, although they have no real evidence to back up their stories. There were these people, a lot of those people, I'm going to say most of those people were not victims. They were willing participants in all of the foolery that was going on in those situations, in those surroundings. So there is no honor amongst people in that type of lifestyle anyway. So yeah, I just think that God is dealing with Diddy and he's keeping him there because he's dealing with him. And sometimes God has to snatch you out of your lifestyle in order to save your soul and to save you from yourself, because who's to say that had he not been arrested and put into prison that he might have got a bad batch of drugs laced with fentanyl or something and OD'd. I mean, God allows things to happen sometimes to interrupt or snatch us out of our lifestyle and snatch us out of our sin in order to save our lives and to save our souls. So that may be more than likely the reason why Diddy ended up going to prison. So I hope he's making the most and the best of his time there, and get himself together because, he's been there almost 2 years and I hope he's getting himself together and getting his mind right and, kind of reflecting and looking back on a lot of things that happened over his life and just making a commitment to, do better and be better, and recognize when the Lord is trying to save you. He's trying to, reveal himself and save you. Sometimes he got to devastate your life, upend your whole life in order to save your life and to save your soul. So we'll see. We're still waiting on the appeals court to, see if they're going to overturn his conviction or remand his case back to the lower court for resentencing. But we're still trying to see what happens with that case. If, he's about to get out anyway, regardless. So, yeah, he won't be in there too much longer. But anyway, speaking of Diddy, what else? I saw something else. More possible arrests in the Keffe D trial. Ain't gonna be no possible arrest being made. Keffe D is the only one. Because they're saying Suge Knight is about to release a book in August about and saying he might reveal the person who killed Tupac. At this point, Suge Knight has no credibility because he's gave several different accounts of what happened that night. But they're saying that if Suge Knight decides to publish the book, which is going to be published and released like 2 weeks or a week before Keffe D goes on trial for Tupac's murder, they're saying that if in Suge Knight's book it implicates Keffe D as being a part of Tupac's murder, then that could be devastating for Keffe D's trial. But I mean, it's not going to be Suge Knight testifying to anything under oath. I mean, So they're not going to really put any weight on a book that Suge Knight decides to publish close to the trial date, because Suge Knight has been uncooperative as far as helping to solve the murder of Tupac Shakur. And he has given different stories, conflicting stories. First, he's talking about Tupac is still alive and Keefe D, free Keefe D, and he didn't take part in the shooting of himself and Tupac. And Suge really has no credibility at this point, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But yeah, Keefe D goes on trial August 10th. They say in 2 months, a little over 2 months, he will be going to trial. And then they're saying that they got some new evidence of him on the phone, making some phone calls from jail or something, implicating himself in the murder. So I think they have more evidence that they're going to bring out at trial that's going to result in him spending the rest of his life in jail. He's not going to get away with it. I mean, I believe every bit, every fiber of my being, I believe that he took part in the planning and, the all of it, the plan, plotting, and strategizing, and the carrying out of Tupac's killing and Suge's near killing. Yes, Keefe D was very much involved in it from the start to the finish. So yeah, he's just he got away for 30 years, and his day of reckoning is here. He's going to pay for it, spend the rest of his life in prison. And he did it to himself. He told on himself pretty much. Speaking of killing rappers, the group of children, I call them kids, but they're really in their 20s or whatever, late teens, 20s, that killed the late rapper Julio Foolio, have just been convicted and received their sentences in court. The young girl, what her name is, Alicia Andrews, who took part in it. I think she had a part in setting him up. Alicia Andrews. They gave her 15 years. I think she was the first to get sentenced. And they gave her 15 years. Foolio. So she was sentenced to 15 years in Florida State Prison for her role in the 2024 murder of Jacksonville rapper Charles Julio Foolio Jones. She was the only female defendant and the first to be tried among 5 people charged in connection to the rapper's ambush in Tampa, Florida. The verdict. In October 2025, the jury acquitted Andrews of first-degree murder but found her guilty of the lesser charge of manslaughter. Prosecutors argued that while Andrews was not a gang member, she assisted her 4 co-defendants, including her then boyfriend, she's fallen behind her boyfriend, by helping to track, stalk, and surveil the rapper between clubs before the fatal shooting. She was sentenced on May 22, 2026. That was last month. She received a 15-year prison sentence. She probably got that 15 years instead of a life sentence because she probably flipped on the rest of them, because she was the first that received her sentence of 15 years. So usually the first one who snitches, the first to flip, usually be the first one to get their sentence and then turn over state's evidence against her co-defendants. That's probably what happened, because if she did, she probably would have got life in prison. It says the 4 men convicted of first-degree murder alongside Andrews faced a jury recommendation of life in prison without parole. They were facing death at first. It was 4 of them. They were facing the death penalty. All, 4 of them were, but they ended up giving them life without the possibility of parole. And according to the prosecutors, they won't never get out. They're going to die in prison for killing this one killing this one kid. 4 young men, gang members. Says, how many times was Julio Foolio shot? Julio Foolio, real name Charles Jones, survived several shootings before he was fatally shot in June 2024. In his final incident on June 23, 2024 in Tampa, Florida, an autopsy report revealed he was shot several times, primarily in the chest, back, and right arm. But they said before he had gotten killed, he had been shot several times. He'd been in several shootouts. See, God will let you go for so long, but if you hard-headed and you won't listen, Hmm. It's really sad. How old was he? He was only 26 when he got killed. It says on June 23rd, 2024, 26-year-old Charles Andrew Jones II, known professionally as Julio Fulio, he was murdered by of gang members in a hotel parking lot. Yeah. While the four men, Isaiah Chance, Sean Gaithright, Rashad Murphy, and Davion Murphy, were all found guilty of first-degree murder. The prosecution sought the death penalty against all the four men. On May 15, 2026, a jury recommended that all four men should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And currently they are scheduled to be formally sentenced this month, June 2026. Like I said, the girl received only 15 years because she probably flipped and turned state's evidence. So they pretty much staked him out and shot him and killed him over some gang rival bullcrap. It was premeditated murder. That's why they were talking about the death penalty. I don't want to get into the whole story, but yeah, it was gang related. Julio Fulio was involved in a lot of gang activity. Yeah, that's messed up. So 26 years old, and he lost his life, and you got 5 young people who have ruined their lives pretty much. 4 of them will spend the rest of their life in prison, and this girl, she's got 15 years, but usually she ain't gonna do just 15 years. She's gonna end up paying for this because she played a role in taking this young man's life. So yeah, you got to live with that for the rest of your life. When, I don't know how many years she's going to live and be on this earth, but she's going to live with the fact that she's responsible for killing. She played a role in killing this young man um, because she has been a following after a so-called boyfriend who should never be with him. This boyfriend is somebody she will never be with out here in the free world again. But she still has to live with the fact that she played a role in taking this young man's life. And these boys are going to have hell in prison for doing something stupid, being followers. That's crazy. Over some gang, being a follower and being in a gang. It's really sad. But Lord forgive them, Lord be with them. It's just tragic. Very tragic. Their lives are not over, in a sense that, they can always be forgiven and get saved and turn their lives around, even in prison. But as far as Julio Fulio, I mean, there's no coming back for him. He's gone. So hopefully these kids can redeem themselves, repent, and be forgiven, and turn their lives around. And yeah, it's really sad. But that's all I have. This is going on pretty long, but yeah, I'm gonna post the stories up. Hopefully they don't flag me for copyright. But yeah, I wanted to make an episode. It's been a while since I did it. This is episode number 101, End Time News Reports. I keep doing these reports to just kind of reflect on, just kind of, giving you all some insight into how Bible prophecy is being fulfilled in these end times. Because each and every day in the news, you see how a lot of things that the Bible prophesied thousands of years ago are taking place right now, and they're happening right before. Prophecy is unfolding right before our eyes, whether people want to admit it or not. There's no other book has been able to prophesy the current events on point with the accuracy and precision the way the Holy Bible has. So that's why I say in all of these videos that if you have not repented of your sins, been blood washed, born again, and baptized in the name of Jesus Christ, then I implore you, I strongly encourage you to do so right now before it's too late, because I'm going to be honest with y'all, I don't see this world lasting too much longer. Not this life. as we're used to and as we are living as we know it now, it's not going to last too much longer. Um, it's just, I don't see it because prophecy is rapidly unfolding as the days go by. And the way time is just constantly racing. And you guys see these meteors keep shooting in the sky, shooting across the sky, and all these weird snakehead fish washing up and just weird phenomena happening in the environment all over the world with the pestilences, this hantavirus and COVID and all this stuff. Um, the increase of knowledge with the neural links and all this stuff, giving sight to the blind and helping paralyzed people move and putting chips in your brains and all these wars and all of these things that's taking place the way that the Bible predicted they are going to take place and that they are currently taking place. All of this stuff is happening. You cannot deny this. I don't care what your spiritual or religious beliefs are, or whether you're atheist, Satanist, or whatever. All of this stuff is happening with pinpoint precision, and prophecy is being fulfilled. So I'm going to stop right there. I went on for a long time. Got to get some sleep. Got to get up in the morning early because I take care of some car issues. But yeah, man, this stuff is getting real, people. It's getting real. It's getting real. It's getting. Hey, we better get ready because it is real. All right. It's been an hour, man. I didn't know I've been going on that long. All right, y'all. Peace. Be blessed.
That's what it sounded like from a home surveillance camera in Danvers. And this is what it looked like from a dashboard cam in upstate New York as the meteor burned up in the Earth's atmosphere. Perhaps you were one of the many who heard that thunderous boom shortly after 2 o'clock this afternoon. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ken McLeod. NASA says the meteor broke apart at an altitude of about 40 miles just off the Massachusetts coast, producing a sonic boom equal to 300 tons of dynamite and prompting a flood of 911 calls. We get more now from WBZ's Logan Hall.
Ken, good evening. That meteor exploded just off of the South Shore. And people that we talked to say they felt it all the way from up in New Hampshire to down in Providence. And it felt like an earthquake. It sounded like a bomb. And people are telling us tonight about their experience. A sonic boom felt across New England.
I live a couple blocks from here, and it sounded like really deep thunder.
We now know that sound and earthquake-like shaking was a meteor, captured on this dashcam footage from a driver in Rome, New York. Across Massachusetts, it rattled homes, terrifying residents and their dogs.
I have never been in an earthquake, but it felt like maybe what it might feel like. Felt like a little bit of a vibration, and I'm on the 4th floor, but I could feel.
We spoke to astronomy educator Shauna Edson with the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum.
So what you hear when something falls through the sky, some of it is the sonic boom of it, compressing the air and putting out those pressure waves. Some of it can also be the rock material itself exploding and kind of breaking apart.
The meteor was heard just after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and maps show us it exploded over the ocean near the South Shore.
When we get a good fireball like this, there's often a lot of different camera views from different angles and directions. So the more footage we have of it, the better sense we get of what exactly, where was it coming from? What was its orbit in space?
Now, something else that Shauna mentioned to us is that this meteor was likely made out of stone, and that sound that we heard exploding in the sky was likely bits and pieces of that meteor breaking apart. It's a fascinating story and something that we're going to continue to learn more about as the week goes on and scientists get their hands on as much video as they possibly can. Reporting in Boston, where that meteor was heard, I'm Logan Hall, WBZ News.
Logan, thanks. This was a day where Mother Nature coughed up a pair of unusual things, the meteor and our sudden flashback to early March. Meteorologist Jacob Wyckoff is here now. He's got more on both.
Yeah, Ken, as we went into the afternoon, a lot of people asking questions. Was it an earthquake? Was it thunder? No to both of those questions, but we did look to a weather product to actually verify that it was in fact a meteor. And what I mean by that is this is a look at our NASA and NOAA lightning detection system. And what it's actually measuring is flash density. And so when that meteor went through the atmosphere, it let off this big ball of energy, big ball of light. And that meteor was detected at 2:11. Notice all the clear skies. Those are some areas that we actually got reports of people seeing the fireball. And through that triangulation, we were able to see that it went over southern New Hampshire, exploded off the coast of the South Shore. And as Logan mentioned, it was moving really fast. 75,000 miles per hour is how fast it was going. Most of these meteors burn up harmlessly. This one was 3 feet in diameter, and the sound you heard was that sonic boom of it entering into the atmosphere and disintegrating. Amazing stuff. Now,
Elon Musk just said something about Neuralink's incredible capabilities that's giving some people a little pause. Take a look.
And then later this year, we expect to do our first implant for what we call blind sight, where even if somebody has lost both eyes or lost the optic nerve, or perhaps has not even been able to see, has never seen even if they were blind at birth, it will give them initially limited vision, but I think over time, very precise vision, perhaps superhuman vision. Restoring control of people who are tetraplegics and restoring sight, I think, are pretty big deals. Those are what you might call like sort of Jesus level sort of technologies.
Miracles.
Miracles, yes, exactly.
All right, Billy, what did you think about what Elon had to say?
I mean, here's the thing, right? I don't know where Elon is spiritually. I don't know if he's a Christian or not. So we can't expect that he's going to give Christian language here. But I do think we have to be careful as human beings not to elevate ourselves to Jesus's level. Like Jesus level miracles, there's nothing that compares to them. Jesus is Jesus, right? So no technology that man creates, no matter how amazing it is going to compare to what Jesus does in the Bible, the miracles that we see. And so I'm sure he was just giving an expression, a statement here, to try to make a point about how amazing he thinks his technology is. But I think we have to be careful with this. I don't think we should be comparing ourselves to Jesus. That is my personal take on this. And also, you're always going to get like a weird, at least an eyebrow raise or something worse when you do that sort of thing. So I'm not shocked that people are reacting the way they are.
You know, Elon Musk to me seems like kind of an anomaly. Like he's in all of these unbelievable power seats. And I just think that it's important for us, no matter what you think of him or think of his politics, let's be praying for you. And if Elon, you happen to be watching this, know that my family and I, we're definitely praying for you, brother, that you might have ears to hear and eyes to see, which is spiritually discerned, not technologically discerned, that Yeshua is the risen King. But to the idea of Jesus level miracles, Jesus did a lot of miracles, right? Walked on water, fed 5,000. But even the idea of him raising Lazarus from the dead, Lazarus still died later, right? But the miracle that Jesus basically said, fine, I'll give you one. And this is the one I'm going to do, which is the sign of Jonah, which is the whole point of the gospel. The only miracle, well, you know what I'm trying to say, that really matters is the resurrection. I was reading in Acts, Billy, and when they came time to pick another apostle, obviously, because Judas did his thing, listen to what they said with this. Therefore, it is necessary to choose one of the men who has been with us, blah, 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 blah. But here's what they say, like when it comes to the qualification for this new apostle to basically replace Judas. For one of these must become a witness with us of his resurrection. That was the defining thing. The resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth is the defining moment in the history of the universe. And all other miracles and all other teachings are subsidiary to the true historic factual reality that Jesus, Yeshua, God incarnate, came, put on flesh. The Word became flesh, dwelt among us, and then died, buried in Joseph of Arimathea's tomb. But the whole ball game is that he resurrected on the third day, defeating sin and death. That is the miracle in which the cosmos revolve around. And so my hope and my prayer to you, Elon, is that reality and that miracle would do something profoundly deep in your soul, in the soul of your family, the soul of all of these companies in this mega platform that you're on right now. Because if we can grasp that we are not God and he is, and his name is Yeshua, and he demonstrated to it by this unbelievable act of love and grace, then and only then can we understand Jesus. But to the flippant comment, I mean, it's not shocking to me. But again, my prayer and my hope that we can use this opportunity again to point Elon, again, this person in incredible spheres of influence, to the truth and the reality that Yeshua of Nazareth, historically, factually, yes, resurrected from the dead. But Billy, I'll give you the last word, my friend.
Yeah, look, we just don't want to believe our own hype, right? And when you have a lot of power and money and prestige, and look, it seems like a lot of this Neuralink technology is going to do some incredible things. And who's to say that God didn't give some of this technology to us in order to maybe fix some of the issues that people are struggling with? But we don't want to compare ourselves to God. We don't want to elevate ourselves. You know, the Bible's one of the Bible's biggest calls to us, outside of obviously accepting Jesus and his death and resurrection and the grace that he gives us, is to be humble, to have humility. And so we want to live in humility in everything we do. And so I agree with you. I echo praying for Elon. I don't know where he is spiritually. My hope is if he hasn't, he comes into the fold, into the Christian fold, and accepts Jesus as his Lord and Savior.
An unusual find in a Long Island pond, a predatory invasive fish that can actually cross the street. Yes, it's true. State officials went fishing today to get rid of them. But as Carolyn Gussoff tells us, some people are welcoming the find.
It's just like a bada bing, bada boom thing. It's just awesome.
Vinnie Conwell elated over his first-of-a-kind catch in Suffolk County. He travels the East Coast seeking out the northern snakehead fish, and last week caught 3.
Don't tell me there's not northern snakeheads in Lily Pond. And these fish are so awesome. The fight, everything about them is great. It's a shame that they've gotten the reputation they have.
The species that spawned horror films has New York officials
We're turning the juice on.
knee-deep in the pond trying to catch and kill them.
We really want to be on top of it and get rid of them quickly because we have Lake Ronkonkoma, bass, walleye. So having the snakehead move in there would not be a good situation.
Aggressive and predatory, native to Asia and federally classified as invasive. They can breathe air and survive out of the water for days.
These fish can walk on land. They can cross the road.
And so the DEC is electrofishing to locate and destroy any snakeheads in Lily Pond right next to the lake. Their python-like markings and dagger-like teeth have made them a bucket list catch for some fishermen.
These fish are not going to cause any kind of problems to the general public. Yes, they do eat fish. They do eat other species, but what fish in this ponds are not eating fish?
But for the DEC, they're a threat to Long Island's largest lake.
I do see, the point of the fishermen having a very exciting catch, but it's not something we're going to take lightly.
I don't want this thing affecting Lake Ronkonkoma. It's getting a little cleaner, so we don't need invasive species.
How'd they get here in the first place? State officials say it's likely someone dumped them from an aquarium or from a fish market. Either way, they say it's crucial to stop their spread. In Lake Ronkonkoma, Long Island, Carolyn Gussoff, CBS News, New York.
Mr. Zweig, now we have a breaking news coming in. According to reports, allegedly Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian. Now, breaking news, according to a report, allegedly Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, has sent a letter of resignation to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Mojtaba Khomeini. In the reported letter, President Pezeshkian warns that the country's rule has fallen under the full control of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commanders, while his administration has been completely isolated from the key decision-making processes since the start of the war with the US and Israel in February. The report says that it is unclear whether Leader Khomeini will accept President Pezeshkian's resignation. Now we welcome Professor Gilad Hirschberger. He's a political psychologist, joins us live of Reichman University, joins us live from Israel. Thank you, Professor Hirschberger, for joining us today.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Thank you. Now, how significant is this news, and do you think that if this report is proven right, then it further concretes or it further proves about all the things that media was saying about how fragmented, and also President Trump was saying how fragmented Iran's current leadership or current government structure is now, after, of course, the strikes started?
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind that what we're hearing from Iran itself is different from the Iranian leadership, is different than what is actually happening there. We know that the leadership is fragmented. We know that they have taken severe blows from the American and Israeli attacks. And we also know that the stability of the regime is shaking, that it's very fragile, and that there is a great deal of civil discontent in Iran. So I think we need to take a deep breath and allow some time for the situation there to unfold, to really understand what the effects of the war are and what effects are going to have on this regime.
So from your analysis, who do you think, or what do you think IRGC stands in Iran's government or decision-making process?
Well, today it's quite clear that the government is run by IRGC. If before the war it was run by the religious clerics, then today it's more of a military regime. It's not such a big change, I have to say, because they're all part of the same structure, of the same regime, but technically it is true that IRGC today is the ruler of Iran. But as I said earlier, it is important to take some perspective and take a deep breath, because I don't think that we've heard the last from Iran. The American-Israeli attacks were significant. They've had more of an effect than it is often reported in the media in the West. And I think that if we wait a little bit, it might be a matter of months, might be a matter of years, we will see some change there.
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Hershberger. Professor Hershberger, please do stay with us as we'll come back to you later. Now,
all right, and moving on, a new provision in U.S. House version of the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, released earlier this week, is now drawing attention for its potential implications for U.S.-Israeli defense ties. According to a report by Responsible Statescraft, a provision in the Act known as Section 224, it lays the groundwork for bilateral research and development, co-production of weapons, joint ventures, licensing agreements, and seemingly every manner of U.S. and Israeli military-industrial complex cooperation. This provision would greatly expand coordination to seemingly every area of defense tech, including AI, quantum, autonomous systems, directed energy, cyber, biotech, and many more. It also proposes network integration and data fusion. In other words, the report suggests that U.S. military's data could soon be the Israeli military's data. If fully enacted, this proposal will likely provide a higher level of military-industrial integration than U.S. has with any other country in the world. However, critics warn that the proposal could give Israel greater influence in the United States politics and make it easier for Israeli interests to shape American foreign policy decisions in West Asia. They argue that the plan would mark a major shift in U.S.-Israel defense ties, moving beyond the long-standing model of military to a much deeper level of cooperation between the two countries' defense sectors. Now, this new development comes at a time when Israel and U.S. military ties have already reached its highest point due to the Iran war and the West Asia conflict. However, the political foundations of alliance are becoming increasingly fragile. Demographic changes, political polarization, and declining public support in America, all of these factors reportedly pose a long-term threat to the alliance. According to several public surveys, public support for Israel in the United States is declining, and particularly among younger Americans and Democrats.
New tonight, a jury has found Roxanne Record guilty of manslaughter in the death of her 4-year-old granddaughter.
She forced the child to drink alcohol as a form of punishment 4 years ago. And tonight, News 2's Haley Jefferson explains how the jury appeared to be torn.
Michael, Sylvia, Roxanne Record was visibly shaking in the courtroom as she awaited her fate in the case. Once the jury's verdict was reached, she began to get emotional. Back on April 21st of 2022, police found 4-year-old China Record unresponsive at a home on Wallace Street in Baton Rouge. Record's grandmother, Roxanne, is accused of forcing her to drink a half a bottle of whiskey as a form of punishment. At the time, Roxanne and Record's mother, Khadijah, told detectives they were upset China took a sip out of the bottle that was left on the counter. In court, prosecutors say the alcohol was consumed 1 to 3 hours before Record's death. Her blood alcohol content level was 0.68. Following closing arguments, the jury deliberated for over 6 hours.
My biggest concern was that the case would hang up, that it would be a hung jury. That would have been really hard to try this case again because we had children witnesses and it was just a difficult case to get together.
The jury stopped several times with questions for the judge, asking for any evidence they can provide related to the case and for the definitions of second-degree murder and manslaughter to be reread.
They deliberated for a long time. They put a lot of thought, effort into it. It was a tough case, and I think they made a good decision.
The defense called this situation a tragic accident, claiming Record was tall enough to reach the counter the alcohol was on. Khadijah Record remains in the parish prison tonight on first-degree murder and cruelty charges in connection to her daughter's death. She's scheduled to appear back in court next month.
We wanted to try this case first, and that one's next on the agenda.
Sentencing for Roxanne is scheduled for August 10th. She faces up to 40 years in prison. Michael, Sylvia.
Good afternoon, Grant and Vicki. After 3 days of hearings and a case that spans nearly 6 years, Shannon O'Connor, known as Los Gatos' party mom, has been sentenced to 35 years and 10 months in prison. That's the maximum sentence allowed. This was a very emotional day in court as victims read their statements, as well as O'Connor. In court, she said, quote, "I want you to all know that I live every day wishing I could take everything back and go back in time and change it all. I am responsible for the harmful situations that I put your daughters and sons through. There really are no words for me to say, to express how very sorry I am." She was convicted by a jury on dozens of counts for organizing secret alcohol-fueled parties for Los Gatos high school freshmen in her house between 2020 and 2021, also for kids ages 13 to 15. Prosecutors said O'Connor watched boys sexually assault girls for her own enjoyment. Victims today, sitting in the courtroom gallery, scoffed and shook their heads while they listened to O'Connor's apology in the morning. Many of the victims were previously friends with one of her sons. Santa Clara County District Attorney Jeff Rosen, after the sentencing, described the trauma the victims experienced.
I listened to the testimony of several victims and their parents and heard these words and phrases over and over again. Predator, manipulated, groomed, hypersexualized, violated, betrayed, traumatized, isolated, intimidated, harassed, made me feel small, suffered severe anxiety and depression, contemplated suicide, not over it, lifelong impact, forever changed me, stole my innocence, took away my childhood. But I also heard resilient, strong survivors.
So we just want our daughters to move on, put this behind them, live their lives, and be the strong, resilient, beautiful young women that they are. And the young men, too, that were affected. We're proud of everybody who made a statement and was able to show up and speak their truth, so that the judge took it seriously and put this woman, who is a danger to every child, behind bars for hopefully a very, very long time.
The black cloud is finally moving on. Moving on.
And now the judge sentenced to O'Connor for credit and time served. That means she'll technically be spending 31 years in jail from now moving forward. Reporting live at the Santa Clara County Hall of Justice, Stephanie Rothman, Crown 4 News.
We have new information on the desperate mission to rescue 7 gold miners from a flooded cave in Southeast Asia. I can't get enough of this story. 5 of the men, trapped for more than a week, were found alive on Wednesday. Rescuers are still looking for the other 2. The question now is how to get the 5 men out safely. Chief Correspondent Matt Gutman has an update from the lead rescue diver. Matt, good morning. What did he tell you?
Hey, good morning, Adriana. I just got a phone with him, and they are still not sure how they're going to get them out. It's a 5-hour round trip inside to the miners and back, and they've brought them food by this point. But he told us that originally he and his partner had expected to find bodies, not living men. And so when they saw these 5 faces looking back at them in the dark after 8 days, there were smiles and tears.
In that cave flooded with water and drained of hope in recent days, the spark of discovery bringing tears and joy. Divers finally locating 5 of the 7 missing artisanal miners from a nearby village. They were perched there on that narrow stone shelf in an oxygen-starved chamber. The men had become trapped in this cave in central Laos for the past 8 days after monsoon rains flooded the entrance and many of the passages. The man you see here is Miko Passy, the lead rescue diver, describing the moment they found them in an interview this morning.
Yeah, it was emotional, them to realize when they realized that we are there to get them out. There was a crying going on, and there was lots of smiles, happy smiles.
We also spoke with him right after the discovery yesterday, while he was still inside a chamber in the cave where rescuers had rigged up Wi-Fi.
So I'm getting ready for another dive to bring some food for the guys and supplies so they can survive until we figure out how to bring them out.
Okay, so that's the plan, is to bring them food and just keep them alive for now until you can figure it out.
Yep, and then this whole mystery still how, but we got some ideas.
And outside the cave, rapture. Members of the search team cheering and hugging. At late Wednesday in Laos, Passy and his team plunged back into the murk in search of the other 2 miners.
Do you have any idea where the other 2 are?
Not yet. We need to concentrate on the 5 first.
In those spaces, they've been feeling their way by fingertip, squeezing into passages entombed in jagged rock. In some places, they had to shimmy in and drag their scuba tanks after them, struggling for breath.
I think that's a tricky thing that they ask that, like, when are you going to take us out now? You can't really answer this. You don't want to, break their trust or give them too much hope or too little hope. But this is a question that is very hard to answer for them because you don't even know the answer yourself.
So, Miko, that lead diver, also told us hope for finding the other 2 is fading at this point. They'd hope to be able to pump the water out of the cave and have the miners walk and crawl out, but that doesn't seem to be working. So in the coming days, they're going to see if they can teach them how to scuba dive, which could actually be very dangerous for the miners and the rescuers. But what's clear now is that they're going to be there for at least a couple of additional days. Gail.
Boy, Matt, you're getting amazing information on this story. Let's all hope it turns out as well as it can at this particular point. It's just great to see them alive. Thank you.
We are hoping for that.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much.
A harrowing rescue at one of the most iconic amusement parks in Texas. 8 people trapped high atop the Iron Shark coaster at Pleasure Pier in Galveston. The riders facing upwards for 4 hours as the terrifying scene unfolded just after 5 p.m.
We had to be very careful, especially with the rescuers we had in the basket at the time.
Witnesses capturing the dramatic incident as firefighters rushed to rescue the riders suspended some 100 feet in the air.
But I'm going to put a harness on the first 2, and then I'm going to let you know when I'm ready to release.
They are providing them direction on what to do, where to step, how to come down on that ladder, all the way through, down the ladder till they get down on the ground.
In a statement, the amusement park said in part, quote, "The ride experienced a malfunction at its initial ascent. However, as designed, it immediately stopped to keep everyone safe," adding a thorough inspection of the ride is currently underway. The riders, identified as local students who were on a STEM school field trip, were all safely brought down during the 4-hour operation. School officials saying, "We are thankful for the rescue efforts of the first responders and park personnel." Historic Pleasure Pier, which opened in 2012, features 16 attractions, and the Iron Shark is one of the park's marquee rides. The massive steel coaster features a 100-foot vertical lift with speeds of up to 52 miles per hour. The park's website touting the Iron Shark will attack when least expected. But this morning, those riders are safely back on the ground.
Yes.
And fire officials say it wasn't just the ride that malfunctioned, but the lift to retrieve people also had mechanical issues. That's why they brought in the tower truck with a full reach of 105 feet. The ride, remember, sitting at 100 feet, so just enough reach to get those kids safely back on the surface.
Stay on the ground, just stay right where we are, safe and sound.
To get stuck. They were in that position.
Right. But it's never in a good
down.
place. It's always in a tricky place.
Right. Upside down, bargaining with God.
Glad it ended well.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
Well, this morning, a newly promoted principal in the Fort Worth ISD is being reassigned over concerns with her posts on social media.
Fox 4's Alex Boyer live outside Western Hills High School just after the district made that switch. Alex?
Hey, good morning. You know, Fort Worth ISD said on Tuesday it was made aware of what it calls questionable social media posts made in the past by the educator, prompting this investigation. Now, last week, Shema Al-Zubi was named the new principal of Western Hills High School. She's been with Fort Worth ISD for over a decade, most recently serving as an assistant principal at Southwest High School. Now, after her promotion was announced, the district was made aware of several posts from Al-Zubi's Facebook. In January, she shared a post that appeared to defend Sharia law, comparing it to other religious ethics like biblical principles. Screenshots show a repost from August of 2021 in support of mask mandates in the district. And there are also photos of Al-Zubi with a Black Lives Matter banner text and a photo with the caption that Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine. Now, the district says that these posts do not align with its social media policy and expectations for staff, adding that she will be reassigned pending the outcome of an investigation. Now, in a statement to Fox News Digital, the district said in part, our district leaders, educators, and staff will not inject personal political perspectives into classrooms, adding that Fort Worth ISD serves a wide array of families and students that are civically engaged and maintain a variety of perspectives. As a taxpayer-funded entity, we will remain focused on our mission to providing a high-quality education for all students. Now, I can tell you that the supporters of Al-Zubi are holding what they're calling an emergency news conference at 11 a.m. today. They're inviting any supporters of the educator to show up for that gathering at the Islamic Unity Center in Fort Worth. One of the things that they're demanding is that the district immediately reinstate Al-Zubi as principal here at Western Hills. We, of course, will let you know what comes out of that news conference. For now, reporting live, I'm Alex Boyer for Good Day.
All right, here we go. This is DJ Vlad of Vlad TV, and this is something that I actually have to speak on because this is something that we actually covered before, and now you're seeing some of it come to fruition. Now, a tape leaked recently of a situation involving adult film star Sly Diggler, 50s baby mother, and Sean Diddy Combs. This video has been circulating. I saw it on Twitter. Media Takeout mentioned it. Lipstick Alley has mentioned it. It's on the dark web, they say. It'll probably make its rounds and so forth. And in that video, you see the three people I mentioned, Sly Diggler, 50s baby mother, and Diddy, on a couch with a very red background. They talk a little bit, a little something happens, and then they get to the action. It's about 54 seconds long. So if you remember, we'll play a little clip of this. Sly Diggler had a freak-off with Diddy and 50's baby mother. And as you know, Diddy liked to tape a lot of these freak-offs. But in this particular situation, the phones look very similar. So what happened was, according to Sly, Diddy grabbed Sly's phone and proceeded to record this whole situation. From what I understand, this is close to an hour long. Now, he described the situation, and then he pulled me aside and showed me the actual video. You actually ended up with a video of a freak-off with Diddy and 50's baby mother on your phone.
Yeah, he accidentally recorded on my phone, so it stayed there.
It stayed there.
Right.
And while you and I took a break, you actually showed me this video.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I was not prepared for what I saw in that video. I was not prepared. Because as we're watching, and it's got you and the girl, suddenly you see an oiled up Diddy walk by the camera. Now, I knew, for some reason, I just thought the baby oil was for the other people. I didn't realize that he was baby oiled as well.
Yeah. He stayed oiled up as well.
Stayed oiled up.
That's his thing.
Now, if you remember the interview that I did, we actually showed a very blurred version of a screenshot from this video. And in this video, he famously said that Diddy had about 3 inches at the most. When you said that he wasn't well endowed, I was not prepared for what I saw in this video.
Yeah, he's a smaller guy. Well, I mean, I don't know how to put it, but yeah, I mean, he's not that large in that area. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, as someone who is in the adult industry, and guys in that industry always measure themselves, and that's used as a marketing ploy and everything else like that, how big do you think Diddy is?
I mean, I was trying not to look as much as possible, but it's hard not to see it. But I would say maybe a couple inches, maybe 3. I don't know.
3 inches.
Yeah, it's
3.
Yeah, that's from what I seen. Yeah.
Now, I remember I mentioned this and so forth. A lot of people said I was hating and this, that, and the third. So what's interesting about what happened today is that this video leaked, and it starts off with the exact same screen that I showed in my interview. And it goes for about 54 seconds. That's not on coincidence. That's not just by chance. Someone actually took it from the very beginning and did about 54 seconds. Now, I don't know where this came from. I never owned this video. I saw the video, saw a few minutes of it, and I got a screenshot from it, which I played before. But this right here that leaked is the actual video. And I just want to say I'm authenticating this video because a lot of people will say that this is AI or this is fake and so forth. But that video is 100% real. I have no idea where it came from. I've never had that video in my possession. I don't think Sly knows where the leak came from either. Maybe somebody hacked his phone. I'm not sure. But that video is 100% accurate. And if you take a look at that video, and we're not going to show it because I'm not trying to get sued, but you will see those 3 inches that I was saying way back when. No Diddy, or yes Diddy. I don't know. It's a Diddy situation. It is what it is. But like I'd always said, that video kind of made things a lot more clear for me. So it's like you got a guy that has a medical condition and he's compensating for it in all types of extreme ways. Unfortunately, some of those ways are violent. But listen, at the end of the day, that's a real video. If you have a copy of it, cool. If you don't, then you'll probably hear about it. But it's a pretty crazy situation. Diddy's still locked up. Shout out to Sly Diggler. I don't really know what else to say, but that's the overall situation. I just want to say that I'm authenticating that video. That video is actually 100% real. It's what it is. DJ Vlad. Peace.
And for years, there were rumors, there were theories, there was finger pointing. It's all swirled. Was this an East Coast, West Coast beef? Was it a gang retaliation? Was it a professional mob hit? You know, the man long believed to be the shooter, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, he was never charged, and he himself was killed in an unrelated gang shooting back in 1998. But now, there is some movement in this case. What do I mean? Anderson's uncle, former gang leader Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, is accused of orchestrating the hit. He's been charged with murder. He's expected to go to trial on August 10th, right here in Las Vegas. And prosecutors say it's Davis's own words that helped build the case against him. And Tupac's family, they're also now pursuing a new wrongful death lawsuit, claiming that others may have been involved. So joining me now on the ship, two people who know a lot about this case. News Nation anchor Laura Ingle, tracking the case from the ground in Las Vegas as this city is preparing for a trial that could maybe answer the questions that we have. And also investigator Cheryl McCollum, crime scene investigator who worked with Tupac's mother to investigate the case. She's also the host of the podcast Zone 7 and the author of the book Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer. Great to have you both here on my pirate ship.
Yes.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Amazing.
Cheryl, I want to start with you. I mean, it's amazing to think. It's kind of crazy. 30 years, still don't have a lot of these answers. Now, you were working with Tupac's mother on this.
Right.
I also want to get into also the idea of the hitman. But first, I understand today you went with Michael Franzese, okay, who former Colombo crime capo, we had him on the show, to the actual spot where Tupac was shot. I want to play that, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Okay.
Y'all, we're here at the famous intersection of Flamingo and Koval. This is where Tupac Shakur was murdered. He was literally shot and killed in this lane right here. And you know, being here, walking the scene, understanding how much activity is here, how many people, how many cameras, you know, there's only one more thing left to do, and for me, that's going to the source. I have a special guest that's going to join me here right at this intersection and talk to us whether or not this was a professional hit or revenge. I am so happy you're here with me to get your take. Tupac was where that silver car is.
Right.
And he was flirting with some girls that were where that burgundy car is. And the shooter came right up where that truck is. So the shooter came right up on the passenger side. The shooter was in the back seat on the driver's side.
Right.
And shot in 3 different areas. So he shot before he got to the car, straight on at the car, and then one more time as he passed the car.
Well, Cheryl, I can tell you that was a random hit. Absolutely. It was not well organized or well planned. You never do something like this. You know, anytime something happened with us, you never found the body, number one, unless we wanted you to find the body. We always had a crash car in case anything would happen. We didn't do drive-bys. You know, we didn't do drive-by shootings. It's kind of amateur stuff.
And this is the reason it is so critical to me to go to the source. You know a mob hit. You know a professional hit. This, to me, not only looked disorganized, it started 20 minutes before the shooting.
Yeah.
Why in the world would you follow somebody for 15 minutes who had a security detail behind them?
Yeah, no, you would never do that. It was absolutely everything. As soon as I heard the facts of it, I knew. I said, this was a random hit.
Right.
And we all agreed
all
on
these
that.
witnesses and cameras and
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And we saw what happened later on with the actual guy who said he was the shooter anyhow.
And he even said, I gave him the gun inside the car.
Yeah.
We did it. And that to me made the most sense. If you're looking at a professional hit, it's quick, it's easy, it's clean. They would have done it when he first got in the car.
Yeah, and just so you know, I spoke to Suge Knight while he was in prison. And we talked about all of this. And he believed it came from Diddy. He said, but not that it was planned that night. People that wanted to impress themselves, you know, for Diddy just said, hey, we have a shot, let's take it. That was it. So.
And that's another reason Orlando Anderson came onto our radar, because number one, at the MGM, they whooped his ass that night.
Yes.
I mean, that's the reason you're going to go after him immediately.
100%.
So there's senses of this that doesn't seem professional, but I also understand you spoke to a hitman.
Oh, absolutely. So I spoke with Frank Collada here in Vegas when he was still alive, and Frank was a mafia hitman. So I wanted again to go to the source to get his take. Again, if you're a professional hitman, it's quick, it's clean, you're in, you're out. You don't follow somebody for 20 minutes. You don't have to shoot them 9 times. That .40 caliber hit that vehicle 9 times. Not a pro. And from the back seat. None of that seems clean, professional, in and out.
I'll get to Keffe D in one second, but what do you think the motive was then? What do you think the theory of the case is?
Revenge. If you look at what happened at the MGM, Orlando Anderson was beat. He was stomped. When he goes back to tell his uncle, hey, this is what they did to me, his uncle, I'm sure, said, hey, you've got to take care of this tonight. You can't let this go or you're just a punk. And they're going to keep coming after you.
So let's talk about Keffe D for a second. Now, to be clear, he's innocent until proven guilty. He's been charged as the planner of this, not the shooter. But it's his own words. For people who don't know, why is that? That's like the key of the whole case, right?
It's the key of the whole. Right now, there's no murder weapon. There's no DNA. There's not the traditional things that we would talk about. It's his own words. Keffe D has been giving interview after interview, writing books, doing a memoir, saying that he was in in the car and that he was the one who wanted to have this hit happen. And, you know, so it's his own words. That's what the prosecution is going to do with his words. But the defense is going to probably say, listen, he's just making tall tales. He's trying to sell books. He's fabricating some of it.
Has he been caught in lies in the past?
He has been caught in lies. I mean, people have called him on it in terms of getting into court. You know, we're going to have to wait to get there.
So let me ask you this. You talk about how there's some of not the key components that you would need in a prosecution, right. But they clearly think they have enough to go after him. I guess the question becomes with respect to this, it's like, how strong do you think the case is against him? Because I also understand, can they place him in Las Vegas? Aren't there certain hotel records that might be coming up as well? Like, what's the other evidence they have to contradict whatever he may say at trial?
Well, we certainly don't know all of it, right? They're going to bring him up to trial on August 10th right here in Las Vegas. So you've got the hotel records that they will look into. There was some back and forth about where he was. At first he said he wasn't here, then he was here, but he has said, I was in the car. I was in the front seat of that white Cadillac.
I don't get why it took so long to charge him then. I mean, you just laid it out. You went to the scene, you spoke to the right people, you say it doesn't look professional. Why take so long to charge Keffe D? I mean, again, assuming these allegations are true.
There are other witnesses in that car. Who was the driver? But shockingly, even Tupac's security system, nobody would talk. Nobody would come forward. So you know nobody in the shooter's car is coming forward.
This wrongful death lawsuit, Cheryl, do you think anybody else is going to be charged? Any other people involved? Any witnesses?
You know, I think it's a good possibility. I think once Keffe D starts talking, he's going to keep on talking.
Yeah, the question is if you can believe what he has to say, right?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we're going to move forward with this, and we've reached out to the prosecution's team here in Las Vegas as we're here. No comment, no call back. So we'll be here to find.
Alicia Andrews will serve 15 years behind bars for her role in the death of rapper Julio Foolio.
Andrews is among 5 people out there found guilty in the rap artist's death. She was first to be sentenced as well. Last year, a jury found her guilty of manslaughter. Andrews helped track Julio Foolio, whose real name was Charles Jones, before he was ambushed and killed outside a Tampa hotel in 2024. Before sentencing, her attorneys asking the verdict to be just thrown out, claiming Andrews did not get a fair trial. That judge denied the request. Jones's mother spoke in court before Andrews received the maximum sentence.
It is extremely painful to hear Alicia Andrews portray herself as someone who didn't know what was going on. Whether she pulled the trigger or not, my son would still be alive today had people not participated in carrying out this plan.
A jury recommended life in prison for the other 4 men convicted of murder in this case. They are expected to be sentenced next month. A jury spared the lives of the 4 men convicted of killing Jacksonville rapper Julio Foolio. That decision coming this afternoon after less than 2 hours of deliberations. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Kristen Barbarisi takes us inside the case.
This more than month-long trial wrapped up in this courtroom this morning with the defense attorneys making a final plea to the jury, asking them to spare the lives of these now convicted killers.
We, the jury, find Sean Gathright should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
One by one, relief washed over the faces of the men convicted of killing rapper Julio Foolio.
We, the jury, have unanimously found,
as the jury recommended life in prison, not the death penalty.
He was born into violence and instability. What chance did he have?
During the week-long penalty phase, the defense attorneys called witnesses to prove mitigating factors like the mental health conditions, traumatic upbringings, and good behavior behind bars outweigh the aggravating factors in this case.
He not only has been taking these classes, he has been teaching some of these classes to other inmates. He serves as a mentor.
In the end, jurors sided with the defense, rejecting the death penalty for all 4 men. Still, after the verdict, State Attorney Susie Lopez pointed to the mandatory sentence and the fact that these men will never walk free.
These 4 men, while they were not sentenced to death, will spend the rest of their lives in the Florida State Prison, and we don't have parole. They will never leave the prison alive.
All 4 of these men will be back in court for sentencing on June 22nd. They face a mandatory life in prison without parole. Reporting in Tampa, Kristen Barbarisi, 10 Tampa Bay News.